Welcome to the Hamumu Halloween Home Horror Hoedown, the podcast where we watch scary movies so you don't have to.
From award-winning to completely unknown, we take them all way too seriously.
I'm your host, Mike Hommel.
And I'm your host, Solange Hommel.
Now, warning, we use a ghoulish number of spoilers, so watch the movies first.
Second warning, we don't know anything about anything, so don't take us seriously as we take these movies seriously.
Hey everybody!
Hey Mikey!
It has been 28 weeks, 28 months, 28 years?
28 millennia?
I don't think that's it. I don't think it's been that long.
Feels like it's been that long.
It's been a while since we last podcasted.
And we're back!
Yeah, to celebrate, we wanted to discuss a whole bunch of movies, all of which are about long periods of time.
It's a little bit of a stretch.
A stretch of time.
This connection is a bit of a stretch. But here we are. We had to go to the movies to see 28 years later.
We had to.
But since I don't know if I had ever actually seen the other ones.
I've seen the first one.
So we had to also, at home, watch 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later.
28 Days Later from 2002, 28 Weeks Later from 2007, and of course, 28 Years Later, made 23 years after the first film in 2025.
Which is a fact that makes me feel personally attacked.
But if you'll recall, when we watched 28 Days Later, we were like, what is this? Because it looks like it's from the depths of the 90s or 80s.
Yeah, it was looking pretty rough. It's the same way when you watch reruns of Buffy. It
looked so much like that.
So bad.
Yeah, it looked exactly like those Buffy DVDs we have. The special note about that is that 28 Days Later was something like the first film to be done entirely digitally, and it shows. It's bad.
It was a bad choice.
And
mistakes were made.
They continued the trend with 28 Years Later being not the first film, but I guess the biggest film filmed entirely on an iPhone. What?
I mean, it's pretty something of them to be like, we've recorded the first big blockbuster film. Sir, you don't know that. Yeah. You don't get to decide that. Anyway, I'm reminded of the old scientific adage, just because we can do something doesn't mean we should do something.
I think they should have, because I had no idea until I checked IMDb afterwards. We watched a movie years ago, I forget what it was called, that was shot on an iPhone, and that was back when that was a huge novelty. It was the first such thing, and it was bad. It was like looking at an iPhone. It was terrible. This movie, it just looked like a movie, although it didn't, but in terms of picture quality, it looked just like a regular old movie, and it was like, whoa.
Right now it does, but you know what? I bet 28 Days Later looked pretty fantastic when it first came out, too, and now it looks like hot garbage.
It does. I want to dig into the hot garbage allegations for a second. This series, although not actually the second one, but anyway, this series is from the mind of Danny Boyle, the director. I don't know, I guess he did Trainspotting, I think.
I have concerns about Danny Boyle.
I do too, because he definitely has a very distinctive style.
Indeed.
And it's a terrible, terrible style. Like, I think you can't say objectively because it is purely subjective, but it is objectively bad.
I mean, we don't use facts on this podcast, so whatever. Use words however you want. Wait, so what? Starting with 28 Days.
Yes.
We have to say 28 Days Later because we don't want to confuse everybody that this might be the Sandra Bullock rom-com 28 Days. Okay.
We did not review that.
28 Days Later. What's your issue there?
My big thing, and it continues through the other movies, but it gets weirder, is he has this way of showing action where he shakes the camera around a lot so you can't tell what's going on. Like, people running by and it's... And then, maybe somebody runs up to throw a punch at someone. In a real movie, I said it.
Wow.
The camera would be back a ways so you can see one person swinging their arm, the other person's face getting hit. Like, it gives you a sense of space and you know what's happening.
There's context.
In this movie, the instant something like that happens, it cuts to an extreme close-up, possibly from the exact opposite angle you've been watching, to just boom, a hit happened.
Yeah.
And
you're like looking at someone's cheek and half a nostril or something.
And I get the concept he's going for, where it feels very frenetic and crazy, but it's hard to watch and it makes it hard to follow the story. Like, you don't know what's happening in those moments. And there's a ton of that.
There is. That was one of our main complaints with 28 Days Later. I guess I don't remember so much of it. I mean, I think it was happening, but I don't remember being so bothered by it in 28 Weeks Later.
Not directed by Danny Boyle.
Oh, that might explain it. And then 28 Years Later takes that and
what are they doing?
Puts it on steroids and becomes what you and I call Gabe from The Office style.
Yeah, it was.
Which is really just our shorthand for that very artistic style that involves a lot of stock footage of worms crawling and flashing lights and, all kinds of rapid fire images that are meant to not tell a story, but create a feeling.
Yes. Yeah.
So Gabe from The Office, that is what 28 Years Later is almost entirely.
Yeah. Especially, I noticed late in the movie that kind of died off to a degree and it got more normal. But the beginning of this movie, 28 Years Later, is just absolute madness. Like, it is like a tone poem. Like, a lot of it isn't, a lot of what you watch isn't what's actually happening in the story. It's just random stuff, like medieval archers firing arrows at people.
Right. It's very much I got what he was trying to do, or I got a sense of what he was trying to do, where he's like, they have now they have stepped back in evolution. Yeah. And they are now, their guns, I assume some of their guns still work, but they have used up their ammunition. So now they have to use arrows. Yeah. Or, bludgeoning tools as their weaponry. So they're, it's making that connection between look what's happening now and this is what has become of us. And a lot of the other flashes were forward flashes into the movie. Yeah. Or backward flashes into things we didn't see to fill in the gaps of things that had happened. But it's all just mashed together and you have to figure out on the fly.
It's a blender.
What is what? That picture is just decoration. That one is telling me what's happening. This one is foreshadowing something. And it's all just thrown at you.
Well, they've got Francis the talking deer going and he's all in night vision red. And that's nothing. That's not part of the movie. That's just, let's feel like we're looking at creepy deer.
Yeah.
And then
it works. It's creepy. It's red, and it's
definitely
and
red.
Deer standing in the woods staring at you with their shiny eyes in the night. That is definitely a creepy thing. I have had deer freak me out before because they look like aliens from a certain angle. Yeah, and it works for what he was trying to do. But I guess the problem for me is that I don't understand why he was trying to do that.
Horror.
Right. Okay. I guess the real problem is that's not the kind of horror I like. He was doing a thing, and I think he was doing it pretty well for what it was, but Gabe from The Office style is not my style.
Which is really where that was going in the third movie. It was this part at the beginning where the guy and his son are going to the mainland. They're making their way across to the mainland, and they're just sort of walking through the woods. Nothing's happening. So the director's like, well, that's boring. Let's show medieval archers shooting at people, red deer zapping around, flashes of zombies crawling around, which were not there. They're just letting you know, hey, there's zombies in this movie. Don't worry about it. Just random stuff. And over the whole thing is this poem being read which is just incessantly repetitive. It's like, boots are marching, boots are marching.
Wait, you looked that up. Who was that?
I don't have this kind of science.
I mean, it's a well-known poem, I think, amongst people who know things about poetry, which was specifically written, like, to evoke the style of, I don't know, kind of that propaganda, military, rah-rah sort of thing, but is also, in my reading of it at least, very anti-military. You know, it's like,
I think so.
It's like, war is hell, and we do all of this work to make people forget that it's hell so that they will sign up and be part of the military.
Here's what I learned. It's called Boots by Rudyard Kipling.
Right. And it's about the Boer Wars,
yes,
right?
And the recording they used in this movie was recorded in 1915. That's why it sounds like it's drilling into your head. And I like this. It says, the poem's repetitive rhythm imagines the march of British soldiers during the Boer War. And this recording of the poem is used by the U.S. military to simulate the psychological distress of being held captive. That's what he was doing to us on purpose.
Oh, yeah. Everything about it is, I'm going to make you feel like you're being psychologically tortured, which is a fundamental element of Gabe from the Office style movies, right?
Yes. And there were sneaky versions of that throughout the movie where, like, a scene's happening, they're just, like, in the kitchen, and it's unpleasant because every interaction with this family was unpleasant. Like, everything's weird, they're not happy. And so, like, they're having, you know, a little angry sort of interaction in the kitchen. And in the background, there's just sounds going. And that's like the soundtrack of the movie, but it's not music. It's just noise. And it's so strange. And throughout the movie, there were many times where I'm like, is that a sound that's happening? Or is it the quote unquote music? I can't tell.
I mean, and I think that's the point. Like, he wanted you to be unsettled by all the elements of the movie. And I think it worked in that regard, but that's not why I go to see movies. And the reason I go to see movies largely has to do with the story. And I was disappointed by this story, partly because it feels like it's two different stories, just like jammed together in the middle.
Yeah. We're covering 3 movies here. We've been talking mostly about 28 years later. But I want to say, as far as story goes, 28 days later and 28 weeks later felt like every zombie trope imaginable just jammed together. So generic, so basic. I was like, I know exactly what's going to happen here.
With a heavy sprinkling of, boy, men are terrible, aren't they?
Yeah, because that's what zombie stories are about.
But not in enough of a judgmental way.
No.
Like, just like, let's throw in some, terrible men.
Yeah. But that's the credit I give 28 years later, is that it is not that. It's setting a story in a zombie world, and it's a new, unique story. Maybe 10 years from now, I'll be like, oh, never mind. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We read the description of the movie, and as we were driving over to watch it, I was like, there's some potential here from what's being described. Like, we were using the phrase double zombie, and like, I'm like, okay, maybe there's something new happening here. And then it didn't.
No.
It wasn't as new as I wanted it to be. And it was a story set in a zombie world, which, you know, fine, or 2 stories. Because it was really just like this kid's relationship with his dad. And then halfway through, we're like, forget him. Yeah. Now it's this kid's relationship with his mom.
But totally.
And the 2 did not crisscross hardly at all.
They crisscross in one spot. It's the story of the kid.
I know. And the kid did a really good job. Like, I liked the kid. I didn't like most of anybody else.
Well, what I liked in the story is that, you know, like I said, it's not zombie tropes. I mean, there are, because they're zombies. That's how they work. But the actual plot of the story is something different. And it's really, it goes into this whole thing about death. And that's a moving, kind of emotional thing. And they did that. And I basically liked that part of the movie when they met the doctor.
Yeah, it was definitely a story. It was an approach to this very typical, like, mom is sick and dying and the kid doesn't want her to die and is doing everything he can. And it took a very different turn. And I think the fact that this story takes place in a world where, like right now, we live in a world where if you have cancer, there's a lot of things that can be tried. Yeah. There's not a lot of things that are necessarily going to be successful, but we have a lot of options, right?
Yeah.
And in this world, it was interesting to think about, like, we know we have the science. I can tell you probably have cancer. There were probably a lot of things we could have tried 28 years ago.
Or 28 miles away, on this island.
Yes, we haven't covered that part yet.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that could be tried. And we don't have access to any of that. We know that it exists, but we can't use it. And so basically, you're done. That's a world that used to exist that we don't think about a lot anymore. Okay, used to exist is a phrase that comes from my white privilege and my, I live in America privilege.
For now, RFK is in charge.
There are a lot of places in the world where we have the knowledge to diagnose a lot of things, and then we're just like, yep, you're going to die from that because you don't have enough wealth, privilege, access, etc. to benefit the way other people would.
Yeah.
So, okay, if we go, let's jump back a little bit. Let's talk about
28 minutes.
Let's talk about 28 days later. So, in that one, a rage apocalypse breaks out because they're not zombies.
They're not zombies.
They use all the zombie tropes, but they're not zombies. These people are not dead. They're just really mad.
Yeah, they're just really mad.
To the point where they can't be human anymore. There's no recovering from being really mad in these movies.
Well, I think it's not just that they're mad, it's that they have no thought. They just are driven to attack.
That's just being really mad.
It is. You're right.
Which then makes, gives me a perspective of watching this movie through the idea that this is just like an allegory for people who don't know how to control their rage, which is interesting, and what happens there. But so this outbreak happens in Great Britain. The rest of the world just is like, great, we're just going to isolate this island. It's an island. We'll just let that island go.
Uh-huh.
And basically, we're watching the people who are still alive after 28 days of people attacking each other.
Yeah, which is the same as a zombie movie.
Yeah. Okay, then 28 weeks later...
What they say is that all of the infected people have died of starvation because they don't really eat. They just attack you and move on.
Yeah.
Which seems questionable when you get into 28 years later, but anyway.
Evolutionarily flawed.
Yeah. So they say, hey, they've all starved. And the few survivors, they're bringing people into London. What?
Yeah. 6 months later, after all of this happens, they're like, we're so sure that all the infected are dead that we're going to start bringing people back in. They've got 15,000 British citizens back in the country, and they're like, we're going to start rebuilding. It's time. And not only that, but we're also going to start bringing children who were out of the country at the time that this happened. It's finally time to reunite them with their terrible, terrible parents.
Terrible. But at least the workers were shocked that children were coming back. But this is all being done by the U.S. military. So they're kind of managing the whatever disaster relief. So that's kind of the story of them. It's not. It's the story of these two British kids, but... Because,
surprise, surprise, not all the infected are dead. And, of course, these kids decide to leave the building and go find their mom, who is half infected.
Yes, because all the infected are dead. Their mom is the problem.
Right.
Because she's a carrier. She's not dead. She survived because she has a mutation, which seems very obviously just to be heterochromia.
Uh-huh.
And yay, I guess. But now she's just carrying this disease. And of course, her husband,
right? He's a terrible human being.
This whole movie is just a rage virus.
In the first movie, it's basically like, hey, if something terrible were to happen and essentially civilization as we know it were to collapse because of this, infestation of rage zombies, it would only take a few days before humanity would just disintegrate into, people who have the most power raping and pillaging everybody.
Yeah.
And of course that's going to be the men with the guns.
Yeah.
That's basically the movie. In the second one, it's basically that this dad pretends he was a hero when in fact he runs away, and that's the only reason he's still alive, is he abandons his wife and all the other survivors when they get attacked. That he runs away, and then when his kids come back, he tells them this story about how he fought so hard to protect their mom, but oh no, woe is me, I'm so sad because I failed to do the thing that I was doing.
Yep.
Only to find out that, he's a dirty liar.
He is.
And then he becomes a zombie because he's an idiot. And he spends the whole movie trying to chase down his kids and kill them. Like, he is the most single-minded of these rage zombies of any of them in the first two movies.
And here's the thing. I think that's not the plot. I think the plot is just that he happens to be there, and it's more interesting that way, which is just so dumb.
It's insane. That anywhere these kids happen to be, that's where he is. It's like he can smell them.
Because it's more traumatic that way.
It was ridiculous. And then that movie ends with the idea, like, that they get out. I forget exactly what happens.
They get helicoptered out.
And who has the...
And the kid, who also has heterochromia, has been bitten or whatever. He got blood on him. He's now carrying it, and they're just on their way to France. Oh, and it actually has one of those, horror movie end moments where we see zombies storming towards the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, yeah. It is very clear that quarantine has been broken. This infection is out in the world. And then 28 years later starts, and they're like, haha, just kidding. No. That didn't happen. I mean, it did, but we got it under control super fast. It was fine.
I mean, they don't say that. They just imply that.
No, they say it in the text at the very beginning. They're this happened. We, cleared it all up real fast. I forget how they said it exactly. But that's what, they were like, yeah, I know we said that, but we fixed it. Now we're moving on. Okay,
this leads me to a huge plot hole that I did not think of until we started recording this podcast. If they're spending millions of dollars to, have patrol boats all the way around England watching for anybody, making sure this quarantine is maintained.
Which we know is happening because we meet a Swedish naval soldier.
Yes. Then why are they not airdropping supplies to the people who are trapped inside here?
They don't care about
That's
these
not
people.
how this works, though.
Okay, but if you think about the world today, it is exactly how it works.
I don't buy it at all. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
They very much were just like, I guess we're just going to pretend that island doesn't exist anymore, except that anyone who sets foot on it is dead to us now.
Yeah.
And then that happens also within, like, it's a microcosm within a microcosm, because on the little mini island where this boy and his family are living in this, like, little community, they, the Scottish mainland?
Yeah.
Right? There's, like, a causeway that gets covered up by the tide, and so, like, they can only go out. But their rule is, like, anyone can leave, but we're not coming after you, and, like, once you're outside, like, you're on your own.
Yeah, but what's messed up is they allow anyone can also come back. Really?
Yeah.
You're not gonna... They don't even really check them. They're just like, oh, you look okay. Come on.
She wasn't going to let that. She, kept the gate closed for a while until he was like, look at his eyes. And she's like, okay. Yeah. There's two people there. She's like, as long as the kid's all right. I do think it was really that they waited a certain amount. Like, it happens so fast.
It's the fastest virus in history.
I think she was like, we keep the door closed for the period of time, like for, 10 seconds or whatever. Yeah. And if you don't try to attack us in those 10 seconds, then we can assume that you're clear.
Yeah. Which is probably fair given how it actually operates.
Yeah. I don't know. It's very flawed. Like, through all of the movies, and we all know that I have very strict rules about zombie protocol, right? Rules. I am so angry about how lax all of these movies are. Like, the whole reason all of this stuff happens is because basically people are like, whatever, all the time, at all levels. Yep. They like don't keep a watch at night when they're out in the woods, or they... when they bring this mom who's a carrier and they're like, we don't know what's going on. She's clearly sort of like, one of her eyes looks like she's a rage zombie and the other one doesn't. Like, what's happening here? And they just like strap her down on a table and then leave her there unsupervised.
He's left her alone strapped to a table.
And then the dad, who is a terrible human being and apparently has access to every single room in this building because he's in charge of...
He's the janitor or whatever.
Right? Like, I don't even know. Anyway... he goes in there because he's a dummy and decides to like lick her face or something.
He kissed her. That's what happened.
Whatever. But he did it like it wasn't like a tender moment. It was a creepy moment.
Yeah.
And like we all know how this infection is passed. Like, what are you doing?
I cannot even with that. That is not okay.
And all 15,000 civilians on the island have to get gunned down by the U.S. military, and poor Hawkeye gets traumatized because
Hawkeye
this guy's got to kiss his wife
later.
who's half zombie.
And the zombie virus has been wiped out. Everyone's dead. Then they find this woman who they discover is a carrier of it. Lock her in this room and put no guards on her.
No, there was one guard and he leaves because...
Oh, okay, they put a guard.
Some alarm starts to go off and he's like, I'll be back, and he leaves. I'm like, you had one job, dude.
I mean, this is like the most important thing in the world.
Yeah.
And no big deal. Oh.
It's upsetting. And then in 28 years later... I mean, we were just saying, like, in their little community, they apparently have just been like, meh, we trust everybody in some sense. Like, their supply building, it's just like honor system. You know, there's just signs all over going, remember, we don't have much. Don't take something you don't need. And I'm like, oh, have you met humans?
That's how that works.
And then the kid... decides to save his mom, and he's just like, screw everyone in this community. He burns down their supply building, tricks everybody to leave the gate, and then he and his mom leave, and he like tells everybody, he's like, no, I'm the one who's supposed to stand watch at the gate. Everyone else has to go put this fire out. And then he just leaves. So it's completely open and unprotected.
Yeah, he just
everyone is so selfish.
Out. Now, there's the lesson about humanity.
Yes. Even the doctor. Like, yeah, we're supposed to learn that the doctor that everyone thought was so scary and creepy, and he was a little creepy.
He was creepy.
He was a little off. I mean, you can't blame him. The world was a mess, but he was a little off. But he has decided that iodine, like an iodine wash, stops the virus. He's like, the virus dies if it comes in contact with iodine. So he covers his entire body, head to toe, eyelids to toenails to everything in between with this iodine wash. And then the kid and his mom and a baby who we haven't even talked about, who comes out of a zombie lady, they show up at his place where he's built his little memento mori situation. And does he offer them even a drop of iodine? Absolutely not.
I mean, he pulls out the tub. And so I think when you see a tub of iodine, you're like, oh, if I want some, I'll put it on. It's a communal tub of iodine. Like you see at parties.
Like he told them about it, and then he, after all the things that he does, he's reapplying to himself. But at no point is he like, maybe we should cover the baby. Maybe this kid. No.
So babies. I mean, first we're learning these zombies are breeding, so they're more complicated now. They're like really dumb people. And really wild, dumb people.
Which I sort of had a problem with. It was edging into, it's fine if we're hunting the inbred guy in the swamp territory.
Yeah, because they're basically the natives here. And they're just, I mean, they're not as smart as us. They're like some lesser primate of some sort. And we're just going to...
It's fine for us to hunt them for sport.
Yikes. Everything about it, yikes. And they give birth to... perfectly normal humans, we discover, because
through the magic of the placenta.
That's how it's phrased, and that's all we ever get about that. And I would assume they then very quickly get zombified by rage around them.
Because they're babies?
Because they're babies. And
I honestly was surprised that normal baby didn't immediately get zombified, because he was covered in his mother's blood when he was born.
Yeah, and one drop in your eye is the end of it. So
or your mouth.
Yeah.
But apparently... Nope, just fine. They washed that baby off real fast.
Oh, yeah. She got water and squirted it on him. So he was fine. But they were so sure he was fine. These scenes where she's like leaving the baby with her son, the main character of the movie, he was drugged into semi-unconsciousness, and she's putting the baby in his arms, and so I'm just like waiting for that baby to just take a nip at him. like there's no way that baby's not infected.
At the very least, he should be a carrier, like the people with the two colored eyes.
Yeah,
there was a lot of mutations and morphing of the whole thing that happened in the 28 years, which, fine, I get that. But it really wasn't discussed. It was just used as an excuse to have a bunch of different kinds of zombies now.
Yeah, and science was not a major concern in any of these movies.
No.
They went into this diner full of gas, and then he shot some bullets, and it exploded, and they were all fine in the explosion.
Somehow the diner had become like half filled with benzene gas, and you could see it like in the movie. The way you could see it is it was like this really pretty like teal and and blue and white like shimmeriness that was just like the top half of the room.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they had to make us be able to see what was going on in some way.
Editing Mikey here. I just Googled, is benzene lighter than air? And the answer is no. It's much heavier than air. So, facepalm.
But nobody really was like, hey, maybe we should, I don't know, duck down below. Like, they're just walking around with their heads in the shimmering blue gas.
Okay, when they went in, I'm like, oh, they're going to get down. And the zombies obviously don't know that, so they're going to die or pass out.
Didn't happen.
It totally
Which
didn't.
honestly made me think, are we supposed to know that the blue shimmeriness is just added for our knowledge? Like, so we know what's going on and that they can't actually see it? I don't know.
I mean, they were like, hey, it's gas. So was that because they saw it or whether they smelled it?
Immediately started feeling sick? I don't know.
So in that scene that felt very unscientific, I had a much bigger problem, actually, with a non-science issue, which is that they are running into this diner in the middle of nowhere, chased by zombies, and the Swedish soldier happens to arrive on top of the building in that exact moment. Like, I know movies are all about coincidences, but that was just so insane.
It was also, he knew what was going on. He knew that the building was half full of gas. He even told them that it was benzene gas that had been building up for a long time. I'm like, what? How long have you been sitting here waiting for someone to come along?
And how well sealed is this building?
Very well, apparently. But also, like, the whole soldier thing was, like, in the middle of the movie. Suddenly, we're with a bunch of soldiers who are not speaking English, and they're getting picked off one by one, and then they're all dead, and I'm like, okay. And now we're back with the kid and his mom, and then we come across this soldier. So it's like a weaving of stories, but in a really like clunky way.
Well,
in my mind,
when the soldier part first happened, and like suddenly we're seeing these modern soldiers jumping into a tunnel and running around, and zombies chasing them. I'm like, wait. And for the first like minute of it, I didn't think it was happening. I thought it was more of the weird, thematic clips that they were showing.
Oh, because they also showed a lot of clips particularly from the second movie.
Oh, yeah.
There were a lot of shots of like civilians being gunned down by soldiers that were straight out of that movie.
Yep.
I mean, I guess it's all supposed to be unsettling. It's all supposed to be upsetting. And it was.
Up until the last minute of the movie, when everything changes and we meet Jimmy.
Oh, yeah. The Teletubby ninjas.
The Teletubby Power Ranger Ninjas team, which is presented in Power Ranger format with like crazy music and doing flips.
And they're all wearing like...
Each one has a color.
Colored jumpsuits.
Yes.
Which, okay, the reason we call them the Teletubby team is because the prologue to the movie is about these kids who are all like crying and listening to things, people be murdered around outside while they're trapped in a room watching the Teletubbies, which was a pretty traumatic scene. Like that was, I liked the way that was set up. That was pretty good. But then, of course, the kid who's told not to open the door opens the door and people come in and they all get murdered, except did they? Because then we don't hear anything about them. Oh yeah, Jimmy ran away. But like all the other kids got zombified, I thought.
I guess.
And now here we are at the end of the movie.
You think those are the kids? Having
not seen anything, nothing to do with any of that. No reference to Jimmy except once I saw his name written on a wall of a building and his name was carved into the body of a zombie.
Yeah.
And now here we are, and they are the ones that are saving the kid from being attacked because he's been out for 28 days on his own because once his mom died, he was like, see ya, Dad. Here's a zombie baby to take care of. I'm out.
Yeah, that did happen.
And he like just goes and is living on his own, which doesn't make any sense because for the first half of the movie, you couldn't go 12 seconds without something trying to kill you.
Yeah.
And then the second half of the movie, everything is chill.
It's chill. I mean, they're natural creatures that roam the woods, and you just avoid them like bears.
It is. It's like the first half of the movie was made by someone who was terrified of bears and sure that they were going to attack at any moment. And then the second half of the movie was like, yeah, bears exist.
Yeah.
It's fine. Just don't leave your trash out.
But if they surround you and there's too many coming at you, you need Teletubbies.
Yes. So then suddenly now they're dangerous again, and the Teletubby ninjas show up and they're like, shall we save you? And they do a bunch of like crazy Teletubby ninja stuff. And then that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. It was absolutely a sequel setup for the craziest sequel imaginable.
Which is going to be like, what, 28 minutes later?
It should be. Yeah, that's a good idea. I would rather they did 28 seconds later. It's just like, there you go, kid. We did it.
I mean, clearly there is another movie in the works. I don't know how I feel about that. Because I don't know anything about Jimmy other than his dad was a priest and gave him a necklace, and he still has the necklace. That's how we know who it is. He wears it upside down now, though, because he's evil. Yeah, yeah.
Ratings.
28 Days Later felt... I feel bad because it probably invented half of these tropes, which then The Walking Dead stole, but it was like watching The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just tiresome because it was all been done before, only probably not back then, but now.
That's like watching Blair Witch and being like, ho hum.
Yeah, exactly. That's so unfair, but it's how I feel watching it anyway.
It didn't hold up. That's the problem. It did not hold up.
And the whole hyperactive camera thing was just painful to watch. So, yeah, I was not a fan of it. It wasn't terrible, but there's no reason to watch it. So I give it 2 long bridges out of 5.
Okay.
How do you feel?
I agree that with your critiques of it, I also felt, and this is part of the not holding up. This is part of it's probably unfair because at the time it probably did read as a critique of these terrible men. Like you were probably supposed to be like, ugh, of course men would be like that. But this long later, it sort of is just like, men are men, like, that's how it would be.
Yeah. Women
only need to be in movies to show how terrible men are. And that part bothered me a lot with the first one. So I'm going to give it 2.5 long bridges because of sort of the same reason. I mean, that's just kind of where I landed when I was like, it's not a great movie. It's below average of the movies that I would be like, meh, you should watch it.
Yeah. Now it's your turn to do 28 weeks later. 28
weeks later. Well, I feel like I've already shared that there were a lot of things about that movie that bothered me. Like, I spent a lot of the time watching that movie going, why is anyone doing what they're doing? Why is any of this happening? This is so unrealistic. And I mean, not that I necessarily needed it to be hyper realistic, but I just was mad at everyone for all the choices they were making.
Yeah.
That said, I think I liked the story of 28 Weeks Later better. It felt like a more cohesive story. There felt like more of a reason to watch the story. Mm-hmm. Like with the fact that there was this dynamic of like the kids trusting their dad and then not trusting their dad because he was an untrustworthy beanbag, finding their mom, everything going wrong. Like there was a lot of emotional roller coaster in this one that I was willing to ride that roller coaster. But it wasn't, I mean, I still sort of feel like about it. So I would give that one 3 Vespas out of 5.
Okay. I really agree with you about the anger at the characters in the movie. Like every decision is frustrating from beginning to end. And it's like, why? You have to be mad the whole time you're watching it. Rage. It's about rage. Mm. And I also think it's a little better than the first movie, but again, it feels like all the zombie tropes. These are different zombie tropes than the first movie, but we're continuing the whole thing about, let's watch the military and how they handle the zombies. I don't know. There's not much for it there. I'm going to go 2.5 Vespas out of 5.
Okay. I do feel like there's something there. Like if I were feeling a little more generous about these movies, there is something there to what you just said about like, you feel rage watching them. And so like the first one, I felt rage at men who think that women are just there to serve them. And in the second one, I felt rage at the military setting up this situation where now all these civilians just have to be like eliminated because it's the only safe thing. Like Sully's rule of zombie, yeah, they did all have to be eliminated. And because that could have been avoided, right?
By Idris Elba.
Yes. Why does he always end up playing characters that I absolutely hate?
I don't know.
Lately, I have come across him a number of times where I'm just like, you're terrible and I hate your character. And then in the third one, I'm trying to think like what am I rageful at? And I guess I'm just like rageful at, is it the impotence of living in the world you live in? Like, I think maybe that's what it is. Like this kid, because the kid is the person you're supposed to empathize with, right? Definitely. And so like this kid is like, he's never known anything other than what he knows. And then he slowly is like learning over time that there were things, it could have been better and it's not because of the mistakes that were made and the decisions that were made. And like, then it kind of culminates with, my mom could maybe have, like if they had lived in modern times, if they had lived anywhere else on the planet, maybe when she first started to get headaches, would have gone to the doctor and maybe they could have done something about it before it metastasized and everything. So like this rage of like, reality is what it is and it's bad and I hate it and I can like deeply, deeply relate to that feeling right now. I think we're in
a similar situation in the world today. And I think that is the classic Gen Z rage. That's what that is. Because they have been thrust into this world that is terrible.
The only world they've ever known.
And they didn't do anything to deserve it. It was better before.
It was. So I think there's a thing there if you really want to dig deep and like find the thing. But that said, the rest of the movie doesn't make me want to dig deep into it. I just want to not, it doesn't make me want to connect to that message. It makes me want to leave that message alone and walk out of the movie. Okay. So final rating, 28 years later.
Compared to the first two, this one felt like it had much more of the human character emotion drama that felt good. Like it was interesting to see how people felt about things and to watch the kid be sad that his dad was cheating on his crazy mom and then the whole death thing, which was the best part of the movie. So I think it's the best one of these bunch, but that's not saying much because I still don't want to see this again and that it's not interesting to me. It's just not terrible. So I give this one 3.5 Metal Angels out of 5.
Okay, 3.5. So you went from 2 to 2.5 to 3.5.
I did. I feel weird about it because 3.5 seems like an endorsement and I don't endorse it.
Okay. Well, so what's interesting is I was also going to say 3.5. So I went from 2.5 to 3 to 3.5, which is interesting to me that this is one of the very few franchises where I feel like the movies have gotten better as they've gone on. Like that's not normal, especially when it starts as bad in the first place. They very rarely manage to figure out how to not be bad, right? But I do think this was an improvement. I agree that there's like more to the story. I think it's more of a story that I personally feel was worth experiencing.
I definitely feel that.
I think there was a lot of complexity and nuance to it. Like it really was about like this kid. He's 12. He's like, it's sort of a coming of age, but that coming of age where you realize that your parents are not the superheroes you thought they were. They're not the perfect, indestructible beings you like imagine them to be when you're very little, right? And I think there's a lot to that. I think that's a very powerful moment that most people experience in their lives. And here's the thing, I'm giving it 3.5 because I'm torn between like, I never know. Am I rating this as what it is, or am I rating it for how I feel about what it is, right? And sometimes I go one way and sometimes I go the other way. In this case, I'm kind of like right in the middle where I'm like, I think this was a fairly artistic movie. I think all of that chaos and all of the like peppered vibe images and all of that, I think I will say there is art and talent and skill to using all of the senses to make someone as uncomfortable as possible. I think they did it well. And I hate it. I don't like watching that kind of movie. It doesn't work for me. It's not what I'm looking for when I watch a movie. So, if I were rating it on what it is, I would probably give it a higher score. And if I were rating it on how I felt about watching it myself, I'd probably give it a lower score. So I'm going to just average it out and say 3.5 Metal Angels out of 5. And I will say, if a fourth one comes out, I will probably feel compelled to watch it.
Oh my gosh.
Just because I've put so much, it's going to be like I'm falling for the like sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
Like I've put so much time into this franchise now, even though I didn't like it, that I'm like, is the fourth one going to continue to get better?
No, it's all about Jimmy jumping around and doing flips.
Like, is there going to be something compelling about the Teletubby ninjas? Like, I don't know. So I will probably feel compelled to watch it, and I suspect I will probably be disappointed and annoyed that I felt compelled to watch it. But such is life.
Such is life. I feel bad about the low ratings on 28 Days Later, which I know was a huge hit when it came out. And I see the reason. Like, I feel like it's kind of well executed basic zombie tropes. Like it's like watching The Walking Dead, which, feels old hat now, but back then it was not. And so they were like, wow, this is something new and fun and cool. So I feel bad about that, but I just enjoy it because that insane frenetic nature.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's impossible to truly come up with a score. Like, you can't do away with the last 22 years of zombie films. Like, and we did get, like, that whole Walking Dead time period was very, like, The Walking Dead was happening, but there were zombies literally everywhere. Like, books, movies, TV shows, everything was throwing zombies at us.
It's like they were just spreading all
It was.
over.
It was like an infection.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think probably we would have scored it much higher if we had rated it when it first came out. And it's impossible to know.
It is.
Going back. So
And I don't like zombie movies, really. It's not my thing.
Yeah. They tend to have a very frenetic nature. Also, I think maybe the fast zombies was a new thing.
Yeah, I think this was either the first or second Fast Zombies. Well, the Italian film Nightmare City from 1980, also known as City of the Walking Dead, is widely considered the first movie to feature fast-moving zombies. While Return of the Living Dead 1985 is also known for its fast zombies, Nightmare City predates it and is the first to showcase this trope.
85, so they went back that far.
Yeah. Oh, it was, the one I was thinking of is Return of the Living Dead. That was sometime around 28 Days Later, and it was also fast.
Well, I mean, I think that there was a time period, like around when that first 28 Days Later came out, where fast zombies were, I mean, zombies in general. I think zombies were kind of old school, like a 1950s monster for a while. Like, we kind of didn't think about them too much, or they weren't cool for a while. And then they kind of came back with this twist of like, ooh, but what if they were really fast and you couldn't just keep walking to stay in front of them, right? And now, to me, when I think about zombies, I think of them as fast creatures. Like, it's weird to me to think about them as being like this kind of slow shuffling Michael Jackson Thriller zombie.
Do you need it to be a mummy to make it do that?
I guess. Maybe mummies it's time for mummies to have their day again, because now when I think about mummies, I'm like, oh, those aren't cool.
Brendan Fraser could still do it.
I mean, I feel like there are a lot of people in the world who would agree with you on that. I never fully understood the Brendan Fraser obsession, but yeah, probably. We like all of that. We're definitely into our men who aged well kind of era here in our storytelling. Yeah, I don't know. It's not really fair to 28 Days Later, but that's fine. I don't care.
Okay. We're not going to be fair, but we're going to be back.
Yes.
In about 28 days.
The world is terrible.
I know, and that's the problem with this. But we're gonna do this to lift our spirits in the bunkers.
Yes. Because this gives us time to not think about how terrible the world is. And when
even though that's what we talk
it,
about on it.
When people listen to it, they can sort of forget how terrible the world is, except that we're constantly reminding them. So, you're welcome,
hey,
guys.
everybody. The world is terrible, and we'll be back.
Bye.
Bye. I re-hit the record button. We're recording again.
We're double recording.
Like double zombies.
Like double zombies.